look ahead to college football feast week. It is probably the best week in college football. It's rivalry week. Arky, who are you looking forward to? Let's talk through some of these games.
So I really got my eyes on Penn State at Michigan State. This opened at Penn State -1. But that thing is switched back over to Michigan State -1 now. So that makes some sense. I think what's happening is that we're getting a little bit, a weensy bit, amount of recency bias when it comes to this line. Listen, there is no way to excuse how Michigan State played at Ohio State. Like, that beatdown should have been accompanied by like a Russell Westbrook scowl from every member of the Ohio State team. Like, it should have been. Like, it was that bad. By the way, you ever notice how Russell Westbrook always scowls at just anything, right? Like, his scowl is like, you look at him every time he does anything, it's like someone just told him his mama's so fat that she plays for the Steelers. You know? Like, it's just, it's bizarre. It's bizarre.
He's got that mean mug down. Love my guy.
Yeah, it's a lot of mean mugging. It's a lot of mean mugging from Russ Westbrook. Anywho.
I would try to do it right now, but I don't want to look stupid.
There is no excuse for Michigan State's pass defense. None. They're last in the country, but they were last in the country going into last week, and the week before, they're terrible, terrible, terrible on pass defense. I was surprised that Peyton Thorne was as inconsistent as he was, but also that Ohio State defense is like elite. Okay, like this is a different level of Ohio State than it is the Penn State. Penn State defense is fine and it's good. It is not. I repeat, it is not Penn State's defense. Okay, these Penn State and Ohio State, very two different classes. Now Penn State is getting it's a 1-point dog in this game, and it should be more, to be honest with you. I would take this number right now. Michigan State played in their first true road environment last week, and got humbled. But Peyton Thorne and Kenneth Walker III are going to run wild this week when they get back to East Lansing. They have to. All the distractions are gone. The Big Ten Championship's out of the way. They're not worried about that anymore. It's time to get back to business, and you do it by going against Penn State. Michigan State struggles with really good offenses. Penn State's not that. Penn State's a fine, decent offense, but they're not elite, and they're not really good. So Michigan State, for this Feast Week game I'm paying attention to, I think they get back their mojo, and I think they give a nice little touchdown victory over Penn State in their regular season on a high note.
I'm with you there. I'm surprised the spread isn't larger than what it is. Penn State enters this matchup with a shutout win over Rutgers, while Michigan State would rather not talk about it after getting steamrolled by Ohio State, as you mentioned, last weekend, 56-7. That was just wild. I still can't get over it. And falling 5 spots, by the way, to number 12 in the AP polls. Despite all of that, the Spartans are 7-4 against the spread this season, while Penn State is also 7-4 against the spread. In the 7 games that Michigan State has been favored by 2 or more, they have gone 4-2-1. And you know what? That's enough for me. So I'm going to take the Spartans -1.5. This feels like an easy one, but you never know. And hoping they can collect themselves and bounce back with vengeance and respond in a positive way to adversity that they faced last weekend. If you dare play the total here, you would probably be okay taking the over, as Michigan State has combined for this total in 8 of 11 games, while the Nittany Lions have only reached it in 3 games. So basically, I'm just hoping that the Spartans come to play on Saturday and just blow past Penn State.
Yeah, a game like that, if you're Michigan State, like the thing you want to do most is play immediately. Like, you want to be able to erase that from your memory. And I think that's going to work out in their favor this weekend.
In the words of Coach Eli Drinkowitz, you want to have a 1-0 mentality going into each week.
You're just on cloud 9 after beating Florida, aren't you?
By the way, we didn't talk about this in yesterday's show. Did you love his little mic drop after the game in this press game conference? A little jab at Dan Mullen. We're getting off track.
Yeah, if you missed it, like, he put up his hoodie after taking his last question, said, "May the force be with you." That's a response to Dan Mullen after beating Missouri last year, coming out with the Darth Vader costume to the post-game press conference. It's just... college
it was cheesy.
It's stupid. I love it, though. College football's so stupid. I love it.
Never forget. We don't forget. All right, the next game... No one ever forgets. The next game we are going to look ahead to is the Iron Bowl. Number 3, Bama, who is, of course, 10-1, at Auburn, who is 6-5. Bama here, the 19.5-point favorite with a total of 55.5. Arky, I know Auburn is your team, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, tell us about this game and how are you playing it?
So in a normal year, 19.5 is nowhere near enough, right, in this game. Like, Auburn is clearly outmatched. They're going to be missing their quarterback, Bo Nix, who broke his ankle a couple of weeks ago. He is out for this game
great.
clearly. He's already had surgery. He'll be back for next year at some point. Who knows? T.J. Finley came in last week, and T.J. Finley did okay. He did okay, but Auburn blew another 2-touchdown lead in another game at South Carolina and lost in embarrassing fashion. In fact, the best player on their offense, Tank Bixby, wasn't even getting the ball in the second half. I think he had like 6 touches the entire second half. That's not great. That's not great. Mike Bobo is the offensive coordinator for Auburn, is in a little bit of deep doo this week. Now, you can put everything together and think this week's going to be different, but I don't think it is. Even though games in Jordan-Hare are different for the Iron Bowl than they are when they're in Tuscaloosa under Nick Saban, I don't think we're heading that way. Brian Harsin is allegedly unvaccinated. He is going to go into, in 2 weeks, the potential fact that the university, Auburn itself, could lose as much as $200 million in funding. And he's rumored to be the hot name wanted over at Washington, where he's much more comfortable as a recruiter and as a coach. So, me thinks Brian Harsin may leave for greener pastures for him up in the Pacific Northwest. So, I think all of that gets Auburn beat down pretty good this weekend. Even though Alabama's not the same Alabama that we're used to, I think Auburn gets beat down pretty good at home. I still want to believe that they can cover the 19.5, though. Not just faith, just because it's Jordan-Hare, but Auburn is not the same team right now.
Yeah.
I think Alabama covers the 19.5 at Auburn this weekend.
Well, I have a little more faith in your team than you do. But they are another team that is confusing on paper. Obviously, they've lost the last 3 straight, the most recent to South Carolina. As you mentioned, Bo Nix out. Hasn't been great for them. The most they've lost by this season is 24, and that was to Georgia, followed by A&M at 17, who, as we know, gave Bama their only loss of the season. Bama, on the other hand, is going for their 6th straight win and is averaging 44.4 points per game. That is ridiculous. Obviously, Bama should win this because I have been conditioned to assume they will always win by a large margin. But in this one in 20, I don't know. I'm not feeling super confident about it since they will be on the road and the stats and scores mean nothing when it comes to rivalry games. Maybe it does for Bama. With that said, though, I think I'm going to take Auburn here, plus 19.5. War Damn Eagle, Arky. I still have no idea what that means, by the way.
It doesn't mean much for this game because they're going to get their butts kicked in this game. I'll just say this. So the thing about Auburn University is that the state, and if you're going to get federal funding, every employee has to be vaccinated. And if the rumor is true that he's not, that he may just go to Washington. And so I think that also leans toward him sort of being like, this is my last game. I'm not just going to throw everything into it. I've already got greener eyes. So, I mean, it's been reported that he's a top candidate there at Washington. And Auburn's outmatched anyway. You know, there's only so much a disheartened Auburn fan base can do for you inside Jordan-Hare Stadium. You actually have to have the dudes on the field to do it. And they don't have the stars, the star wide receiver. Their offensive line is not very good this year. Alabama's got the best quarterback and the best defensive player on the field. It just sets up for a bad afternoon. Gus Malzahn might be able to pull something weird, and he has, but he's not there anymore.
Even though it's rivalry week, you don't see anything weird happening?
I mean, Auburn's lost in this game in Tuscaloosa by like 40 before, like in the last few years. So,
true.
You know, like rivalry week doesn't always. I mean, I'm sure Auburn wants to win it. Sure, I think they want like hell to win it, but I just don't think they're good enough to win it.
Okay. And really quick, talking the total here, Bama's games have gone over this total in 10 out of 11 games, while Auburn has seen this total in 5 of their 11. Arky, where are you riding with the total, or are you staying away?
Staying way away from this game. Alabama might put up 50 by themselves. I have no idea, though. I have no way. I have no idea. Alabama should have beat the crap out of LSU, and they won by 6. So this is the same Alabama team. And let's not forget, Alabama just had their quarterback, Bryce Young, throw for over 500 yards, a program record for in a game, by the way, and 5 touchdowns. And everyone's still talking about C.J. Stroud and the butt kicking they put over on Michigan State just because that was the first game that they saw. So Bryce Young not doing himself any favors. I mean, not doing himself any disservice, I should say.
Right. Just stupid numbers from these guys.
Yeah.
All right, let's look ahead to our final game of Thanksgiving week. Boise State Broncos, who are 7-4, at San Diego State Aztecs, who are 10-1. The Mountain West showdown as both teams sit atop of their division. Boise State is the slight favorite here at 2.5 with a total of 44.5. Arky, who do you like in this one?
Okay, so this is a fairly short and sweet one for me. I mean, speaking of Brian Harsin's former team, San Diego State is a top-flight defense, and they're also a really methodical offense. And they've sort of been that way for the last few seasons under Brady Hoke, and it sort of makes sense for them, and they win a good amount of games by doing it, right? They're pretty good in that kind of system. They stay really within themselves. Boise State is not the high-flying Boise State that we're used to seeing. Boise State's gone under a bunch this season, including one we called a couple weeks ago on this show against, I think it was Wyoming. But get this, this is a Black Friday special, okay? And I don't mean like because it's on discount for anybody to buy. It's happening on Black Friday. And this game is kicking off at 9 a.m. local time. 9 a.m. local time.
Woo! That is an early one.
That is really early to be getting
When do you
up.
start the tailgate?
Yeah, I think
4 a.m.?
You started on Wednesday, right? Like you start on Wednesday and then just hopefully stay drunk through the family on Thursday and then get to the game Friday.
There we go.
44.5 is a good number to get it to take the under. I don't like teams having to wake up that early and to be really in sync offensively. So as much as they can get up at 2 in the morning and try to be ready, I don't think that they quite will be. I think it'll take them some time. And I think these two offenses and defenses, for that matter, are set up to be able to keep this very, very, very low scoring. In fact, I don't even think we get close to the 44 on Black Friday, so I'm going under 44 for the San Diego State Broncos game.
Okay. Who was in charge of scheduling that, by the way? Boise State is going into this one having won 4 straight and San Diego 3 straight. Both teams have won 4 of the last 5, so this should be a fun one, assuming they're awake. The Broncos are 7-4 against the spread this season, 5-6. The Aztecs have covered twice this season when a 2.5-point underdog. So, short story short, I'm going to go with Boise State here, -2.5. Why not?